Dark Elves v High Elves is going to be a bit of a theme for the High Elf DLC, so let's actually relive that, right? Hello everyone, here we are once again with a brand new multiplayer battle, myself as the High Elves and War Master of Moloch as the Dark Elves. I will be coming in with an army focused around the Sea Patrol, where I have Sea Lord Aisling, a Spellcaster, 3 units of Ship's Company, 2 units of High Elf Archers, 5 units of Lothan Sea Guard with Spears and Shield, a Lothan Skycarter with a Bolt Thrower because it's become easily my favourite one, a unit of Oceanids, and finally a big boy Sea Elemental. I wanted something very on theme. This is something that you'd basically be fielding on the tabletop, so I think it works out quite well, with War Master of Moloch coming in with LOKHIR Felheart, one of the more terrifying characters in Total War Warhammer for battles, another Spellcaster, which, you know, it always makes sense to have some spells to defend yourself, a unit of Bleak Swords, 2 units of Spearmen with Shields, 2 units of Black Guard, very, very powerful units, 4 units of Crossbows, Dark Shards with Shields, a unit of Corsairs, 2 Shades, and a Scourge Runner Chariot. So a lot of range coming in from the Dark Elves. This is going to be quite interesting to see how it works out. I think more or less we are on kind of even footing. The difference is I do have a flyer to kind of harass around. Well, 2 flyers because Aisling is mounted on his Skycutter, mostly because I was expecting him to have the dragon up and running for Lokia, so I was expecting to be able to run around and get the hell out of dodge should problems arise, but apparently not. So, both are going to be quite even, I guess, in terms of combat. It does depend. He does have a lot more armor piercing, but I have quite a lot of range to be able to fight with, and we're going to be meeting each other, both of us deploying quite tightly. Unlike other battles, Moloch's being a bit more aggressive, which should be for an interesting fight, considering that I'm a very aggressive player. So you've got 2 lines just slamming into each other, his Spellcaster already coming in to harass, which makes a lot of sense. I do have Lore of Death too, because Spirit Leech is a wonderful spell. The Dark Elves are mostly going to be moving in formation, and this is more or less where I was trying to mirror him too. The idea was what he does, I do. I have the longer range, so I should be able to hit them a little harder. This battle was always going to be tough because I knew that he was going to come with Lokia, so I was already prepared for a lot of problems. Lokia being one of the best lords, like I've said, in melee combat. His regeneration really keeps him up and running and able to do just tremendous amounts of damage. I've got a little bit of fire going off with the Lothan Skycutter. The Skycutter is very good at getting some range done. The fact that he can move and shoot is fantastic, but I realize it's probably best just to keep him moving around and shooting from other sides. I don't want to risk the Skycutter getting destroyed too early. At this point, I decided to just hold, just to see what is going on, because the Dark Elves, they can come from anywhere. To be fair, I was expecting cavalry, I was expecting Dark Riders and stuff, so that not being there threw me off a little bit. Purple Sun came in and hit me really hard. I was not really expecting that, because again, I don't go for the expensive spells. I need to learn that other players do have different priorities when it comes to spells. 1 unit of my front line basically wiped out clean out, but it's fine. I've got my Oceanids moving for a flank, and the Sea Elemental, being as resistant heavy as it is, slamming straight into the enemy lines. It's going to be a lot of he fired, I fired, which makes sense for primarily range-focused armies. Moloch's front line is coming out, and the Scourge Runners are trying to deal with the Oceanids, but I'm trying to ignore him. I'm trying to make sure that the Oceanids can get in from behind and get some damage in. With Aisling also being a distraction, the mount is fairly fast enough to be able to dodge a little bit. My Ship's Company are coming in to do some damage too. Well, more just be there just to die. The idea is hold down the enemy, get as much firing out as possible, and really just trying to hold out as the armor piercing hits me really hard. The Sea Elemental is doing wonders. It's really durable, which makes me incredibly happy because it's there just to distract whilst I can cast Spirit Leech, try to take out his Spellcaster. That's my biggest worry right now. Lokia I can think about a little bit later, but I don't want to have another Purple Sun hit me and potentially destroy me very early on into the game. He's packing up and he's really holding me down in certain locations. The Scourge Runner Chariots are hitting multiple locations, pretty much being a skirmish unit, which, you know, I could learn a little bit more about, but hey, trying my best. The Elemental's stuck between quite a lot of Blackguard, which does suck, but at the end of the day, what it's going to do is summon in another unit of Oceanids, and those ones are going to be able to explode. I am starting to use my Sky Cutter more for the purpose of holding down range units and hitting them. Remember, there's a great eagle there. The eagles are more than able to do damage, and that means that I can lock down some archers, as really at certain points you don't want the artillery shooting and hurting you. It's definitely a cluster, and you can see how Murderous Prowess kicking in very early into the battle is going to turn the tides a little bit. Murderous Prowess is really, really good for the Dark Elves. High Elves don't have something like that, so it shows that the Dark Elves are doing very, very well in battle. Sure, it's because they've taken a lot of damage, but that means that they can dish out a lot more damage very, very quickly. The Spellcaster is mostly gone. His Spellcaster is hitting me with Spirit Leech, but at this point I'm not too worried about it, whereas I'm more worried about the Blackguard coming in and potentially ripping apart all my troops from a flank. I've got still a decent amount of archers, and it does help out. Sure, there's some problems of obviously trying to make sure that I avoid friendly fire, but I'm trying to pick out units bit by bit, trying to make sure that I can just try get a few troops to break, run off so I can focus on other stuff. The benefit of having so many archers is having the range advantage. High Elven bows being better than the crossbows in terms of range, even though the crossbows are still very, very good. There's not a lot of unit movement, but that's expected when it comes to range-focused armies. My Sea Elemental was already destroyed, unfortunately. The Oceanids did come up. The Blackguard were mostly destroyed, but yeah, I'm going to feel it. I'm going to feel losing that big monster so quickly. In all fairness, I should have brought a Merworm in, as it does do better against infantry troopers. And its regen is quite good, but yeah, I mean, I wanted to go with a sea theme here, and the Merworm was quite expensive. So I would have ended up losing, I think, one of the units of Ship's Company, which, yeah, wouldn't have been a good idea. So, as you're seeing here, the Spellcaster is gone now for the Dark Elves. My line is broken. I'm trying to reform my troops up because I need to get shots out. I'm trying to really hold down whilst most of my army is scattered throughout different locations. Thankfully, a lot of my archers are together. They've got crossbows shooting at me. They're reforming themselves. It's always going to be reform versus reform when it comes to an army like this, when the Dark Elves and the High Elves are fighting. Thankfully, I do have Ship's Company left to hold down that attacking Blackguard alongside just being able to shoot all the other shades and shoot the Dark Shards that still remain. Aisling is still up and running. He has taken a lot of hits, but he's moving around. The Sky Cutters are flying around the edge of the battlefield, getting and picking out whatever they can, trying to completely break whatever is possibly there that I can take out, whilst my remaining Oceanids are fighting. The Oceanids have proven to be absolutely wonderful units so far, being able to hold down the line, and I could just set them and forget them, which is what you want from a defensive trooper. I've used a little bit of magic just to try and get rid of the Scourge Runner chariots alongside using Aisling to attack it. If I can take out the fast skirmisher, I don't have to worry too much about my sides being attacked. Sure, there are some Dread Spears on the way, but my units are reforming. I do have some archers left, so I can hit them and I can just remove any problems like that. The tactic is picking off anything that I know is going to fully break and then go for the other big problems. As you can see, the Dark Elves are starting to lose loads and loads of numbers. The Sky Cutters are being an excellent cleanup crew, which I found them to be pretty much the same, and still getting some shots out because they still have ammunition. So I found them to be very much the same in the campaign. It's going to be a unit that I feel a lot of people are going to find very, very useful. But this is where the big fear comes in, because LOKHIR is starting to charge into my Lothan Sea Guard. I am terrified, so I'm moving all my troops back. The idea now is just literally get the hell away. I think that's probably the best way of saying it, because if he starts getting into combat, remember, he doesn't have to be performing the animation, he just has to be in combat, and he's already starting to regenerate health. His health pool is incredibly large, but he did manage to get distracted by a unit that I left off as a sacrifice, fighting off some other Blackguard, which allows me to just form up once again, get some shots, and hopefully hit him with whatever arrows I have and whatever left I have for Spirit Leech, as that's my only spell. He's got some shades still up and running. Those shades are a problem, but I would argue that LOKHIR is the biggest problem so far. The big issue here is that my troops are not fast enough, and obviously LOKHIR is going to be running in quite quickly. I did manage to take a few hits on my spellcaster, but thankfully I was able to cast out Spirit Leech once again, doing a little bit of damage. LOKHIR got distracted, and I think that's something that really paid off for me. He was trying to go for the spellcaster, which meant that he was ignoring my other troops. I could focus fire for a while. When he turned around to deal with my remaining infantry troopers, I had a lot of panic, I'm not going to lie. A lot of panic. My troops broke, pretty much my whole line broke. I did bring up Aisling to try and just force some leadership hits. Unfortunately, not too much coming there. But my troops were slowly, and I mean very, very slowly, trying to reform alongside my Skycutter in the back. Still doing damage, still picking off whatever possible. My plan here was try and push to get a reform as quickly as I could, get all my troops together, focus fire, get some spells out. The Blackguard are basically all gone now, which is my saving grace. There is so much going on in this battle. Even though we are close to the end, it's feeling incredibly close. Spirit Leeches are being the big push here. Were it not for Spirit Leech, I would not win this battle. It's very, very good at taking out single entities, so when LOKHIR finally did break, the rest of the Dark Elves started to crumble. Good lord, was this a very tough match, I'd say. One of the hardest I've ever played. It felt like playing a Total War game for the first time and going straight into Legendary. A lot of breaking happened, but a Lothern Sea Guard shooting list is always going to be one of those ones that you get, and it feels like home, right? It feels like home. I've used a little bit of magic just to try and get rid of those Scourge Runner chariots alongside using Aisling to attack it. If I can take out the fast skirmisher, I don't have to worry too much about my sides being attacked. Sure, there are some Dread Spears on the way, but my units are reforming. I do have some archers left, so I can hit them and I can just remove any problems like that. The tactic is picking off anything that I know is going to fully break and then go for the other big problems. As you can see, the Dark Elves are starting to lose loads and loads of numbers. The Skycutters are being an excellent cleanup crew, which I found them to be pretty much the same, and still getting some shots out because they still have ammunition. So I found them to be very much the same in the campaign. It's going to be a unit that I feel a lot of people are going to find very, very useful. But this is where the big fear comes in, because LOKHIR is starting to charge into my Lothern Sea Guard. I am terrified, so I'm moving all my troops back. The idea now is just literally get the hell away. I think that's probably the best way of saying it, because if he starts getting into combat, remember, he doesn't have to be performing the animation, he just has to be in combat, and he's already starting to regenerate health. His health pool is incredibly large, but he did manage to get distracted by a unit that I left off as a sacrifice, fighting off some other Blackguard, which allows me to just form up once again, get some shots, and hopefully hit him with whatever arrows I have and whatever left I have for Spirit Leech, as that's my only spell. He's got some shades still up and running. Those shades are a problem, but I would argue that LOKHIR is the biggest problem so far.